probably the biggest surprise this year, because this movie literally came out of nowhere. Hello everybody, it is Ian Lives. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Now today I wanted to talk about a new Shudder original that just recently came out, a French horror film called Mads. Now how I found out about Mads was maybe a month ago on Instagram. Some newsletter posted about it, and they had this article, and I read the article, and it was talking about how this is one of the most impressive horror movies of the year, and it got standing ovations at festivals and stuff, and that it was going to be coming to Shudder very soon. And then like a week ago, Shudder released it, and I watched it, and it blew me away. I had to make a video about this. So Mads' whole gimmick, what makes it different from other horror movies, is that it is shot in entirely one take. There is no cuts. It's also a zombie movie, which I'll touch onto the plot and everything, but it is shot in one take. I think it took 5 actual takes to get it right, which again is just crazy that this is possible. But I love stuff like this. I noticed that like my favorite scenes in horror movies are one take scenes that are continuous and don't have cuts. The whole movie is continuous and doesn't have cuts. Basically, you follow this guy, pretty young, maybe 19, 20, 21, something like that. I forget his name, but it's his birthday, so he wants to party, he wants to get drunk, he wants to get high. He goes to his friend's house, he gets this new drug that his friend has gotten, and he takes the drug. He's tripping out, he's laughing, he hops in his car, and he's driving to his house, because he was at his friend's house. He's driving to his house, and this lady in bandages, all wrapped up, is in the street. He stops his car to help her, pulls her into the car. And it's clear that she is from some sort of facility, doctor's office, hospital, not doctor's office, Jesus Christ, hospital, something like that. She's either contaminated or has some sort of contagious thing, and she's in the car with him. But he's freaking out, he's high, he's tripping out, he's just trying to take her to the hospital. And then the whole entire movie basically plays on, like, because it is a zombie movie, as I said, so she is infected. But the whole movie is playing off of, are these people getting infected because of this drug? Or are they getting infected because of this person who had bandages all over her? Very interesting dynamic here. There's also the other dynamic where it's like, is this guy just tripping out on this drug and is just imagining all this stuff? So I immediately loved that. There's 3 ways that you could take the story. And I loved how it eventually went. It's never completely answered, but it's answered enough, semi-left to interpretation. But again, the whole one-take thing. This is still all in one shot, where you see him. I was kind of nervous. When I heard about the gimmick of this movie, that really had me intrigued to check it out. Because that's what the newsletter thing said, was, new French horror movie shot in one take. And I was like, what? I was nervous. I was like, this could either be amazing, or it could be severely boring and completely miss the mark. Half of this movie could just be characters walking around because they're not cutting the movie. And there's a scene toward the beginning that had me nervous, because it's like 4 minutes of this dude driving in his car. And I was like, is this going to be the whole movie? Just people like getting scene to scene? You get one of the coolest title screens I've seen in a long time. Because, again, they can't just cut to the title card. The dude drives through the letters. It was pretty sweet. But again, like, you get a lot of driving, you get a lot of walking. It's not going to be for everybody, but I was like, this is either going to be amazing or horrible. I felt like there was no in between. And for the most part, I loved the whole gimmick of this movie. I really want to know how this movie was filmed. I want to like dive into the director's brain. I want to see behind the scene footage of it, because it had to have been difficult. Could you guys imagine being an actor on that set? You do one mistake, you ruin the whole entire movie process, and you have to start completely over. I couldn't even imagine. I've seen some people say that they snuck hidden cuts or whatever. I don't know. I actually physically believe that this movie was all shot in one take. It's believable enough. But anyways, there's some amazing gore effects in here where this movie just goes off the rails and gets brutal very quickly. They end up going to this party, and there's more characters brought onto screen, so you already know that more carnage is going to ensue, and it definitely does. There's a scene that's on like a moped, scooter, motorcycle type vehicle that was insane. I loved it. Amazing, because again, I'm not going to keep saying this, but the whole one-take thing makes it to where you actually see people turn into zombies, like, as it's happening. Like, you actually see them slowly but surely turning in, and it was really cool. But my favorite thing about this movie, besides the fact that it's, one take, and it's artsy, and it's a different, unique form on not only a zombie movie, but on a horror movie, the other thing I loved was how the movie swapped to each character's story. What it did basically was, while you're following a character, let's say you've been following them for like 10 minutes and stuff's happening, it will just slowly turn over and the camera will just start following the next character very seamlessly. Seamless. Jesus Christ. Very smoothly. There you go. That's a better word that I can actually process. Very smoothly. So you're already following a different character and a different character's story. Which I just thought was incredible how they did that. And they do that with every single character, because you're not following the same character the whole movie. So again, I just thought that was great, how it just like panned over to the next character and they get away from the other character and they're on their own, and you're like, oh wow, we're focusing on her now and her whole ordeal. Which gets crazy, dude. The final act really gets insane. And speaking of the ending of this movie, oh my god, it reminded me of like the final shot of Fight Club. Very random comparison. Really great acting. I gotta say, like, I feel like the acting performances made most of this movie. Because you're focused so much on these actors and actresses that if they were bad actors, it wouldn't be nearly as effective. It is French, so I always have this in my mind, like, there's not been a foreign movie that I've seen where I'm like, the acting's bad, because I can't really tell if the acting's bad because they're not speaking my language. It's a weird thing. But this movie, the acting was damn good. A lot of good emotion, a lot of screaming, of course, agony, pain, all really good. All really good. But again, that ending shot will stick in your brain forever. There's also really cool, unique utilizations of things like house alarms. There's a sweet scene with a house alarm, which I won't explain and go in depth to because I want you guys to experience it. But amazing scene with that. How they, like, I don't want to keep going on to the plot. I just want you guys to go on to Shudder and watch Mads. Support this movie, please. It is one of the most impressive horror movies I've seen in years. Probably the biggest surprise this year, because this movie literally came out of nowhere. I hadn't heard about it till like 3-4 weeks ago. I was like, ooh, Mads, new foreign horror zombie movie shot in one take. Sign me up. And then it was like out of nowhere, Shudder was like, out now. I was like, okay, I'm in for it. So it literally came out of nowhere and it blew me away. This is not a review, but if it was, I'd easily give it like a 4.5. One of the most impressive, probably one of the best horror movies I've seen this year. Really give it a shot. It swings for the fences. It goes for something that's more generic. It's been done before. Zombie movies. We've seen it a million times. But it adds another unique, different charm to it. Which honestly is something that I've been really loving about horror movies nowadays. Where they kind of tackle a generic kind of concept. I don't want to say generic, but a concept that we've seen before. And they add a little spice, a little new gimmick to it. I just saw, I think it was Azrael is what it was called, with Samara Weaving. That movie was like a post-apocalyptic ritual movie, but its gimmick was that nobody spoke. And it added an extra spice to it. And there's been several movies like that this year. Strange Darling, which I'm not going to explain what was different about that movie because it is a twist. But there's been other movies where they kind of have, at its core, the concept is kind of something we've all seen before, but they add an extra element to it that really changes the whole deal. Longlegs is a concept that we've seen before with movies like Silence of the Lambs and Seven and Copycat, but they add an extra different twist to it with the actual twist to the movie. So I've been loving horror movies that have been doing that lately. I think that's the best way to come up with new ideas, because I don't want to ramble and sidetrack, but horror and movies in general, even like the lame action movies, whatever, they all are kind of running out of ideas, it feels like. There hasn't been a super overly unique movie that I've seen like that's like completely 100% unique in a long, long, long time. Even like movies that I've absolutely loved this decade, if we're not talking about horror, like my favorite movie this decade is probably The Holdovers, which I've heard is super similar to Dead Poets Society, which I haven't seen that movie yet. But it's like, my point is like, nothing has been completely unique in a long time. So I think the best way to tackle something like that is taking an idea, a concept that we've had before, but adding extra flair to it. Mads does that, and it does it in a damn good way, and I really want you guys to check it out. If you have seen it, let me know your thoughts about it down below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like, subscribe, turn on the bell. Best way to support the channel. Also follow me on other platforms such as Instagram at @IanLives_ and Letterboxd at wehateian. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you next time.